Members of the class of 2020, guests, please rise and remain standing until the conclusion of the national anthem. Honored guests and friends, please join us in the salute to the flag, followed by the singing of the national anthem, which will be performed by Liam Ellis. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Honored guests and friends, please join us. Please be seated. Classmates, family, friends, and honored guests, welcome to the graduation ceremony for the class of 2020.
Thank you. So I just want to take a couple of minutes. Number one, Liam, that was absolutely fantastic. I've watched this kid from the age of 12 years old when I had him on a baseball team on a summer league, and Liam was the giant. And he is definitely something when it comes to how he can sing. It's just beautiful. I want to thank the class of 2020, staff, faculty, and audience of parents. This is a great honor for me. This year, I graduated 30 years ago on almost the same day from Portsmouth High School. And it gives me such great pleasure to be able to speak to this class. I was an average student. I was an average athlete. But through the many years that I've worked, through school, through running a company, and getting involved in our community, I persevered. And perseverance is a really big thing that you have all learned. It's taken me the better part of 30 years sitting where you are today to learn about perseverance and adversity. It took me 30 years. It's taken you 3 months. You are an unbelievable group of students. Hold on to what you have learned over these last 3 months. Again, it took me 30 years to get to where I am today. And in 3 months, you have done something that most people have never been able to go and do. I mean, I'm actually kind of dressed up. We have council meetings, and I dress literally from the waist up. I wear shorts, I wear PJ pants, and I want to thank you for allowing me to wear my shoes and my pants today. So, moving on, whatever your endeavors are, whether you choose to work, whether you choose to go to college, trade school, or the military, remember what you have learned over these last 3 months. These 3 months will help to shape you for the rest of your lives. And again, perseverance and adversity are two of the most important things in your life that you and passing that on to people after. I want to, in closing, I spent the better part of about 6 weeks to try and find something that would best describe this class and what you have learned. And it's a gentleman by the name of Roy T. Bennett. Your hardest times often lead to the greatest moments of our lives. Keep going. Tough situations build strong people in the end. Remember, no matter what, class of 2020, you are Clipper Strong. Thank you.
My sophomore year, I fell off the stage during rehearsal for the spring play. Too much light makes the baby go blind, 30 plays in 60 minutes. Running along the lip of the stage in darkness, my foot slipped beyond the edge. My arms reached wildly for something to grip onto, and as my body fell through the air, my hands caught the edge of the stage, but not before my left side swung into the grand piano sitting on the floor. No one saw me fall, and when I yelled out, "Don't worry about me, I'm fine," and came back on stage limping, my castmates thought I was just improvising to add to the scene we were rehearsing. My embarrassing secret was safe for the time being, but I was left with a purple bruise the size of a small dinner plate on my upper thigh. It was dark and swollen and terrible. The day after the fall, I was extremely conscious of my bruise and kept tugging at the hem of my shorts to ensure the purpley black spot was covered. But during task, one of my peers noticed the bruise I was trying to hide. "Whoa, is that a bruise?" People turned their heads and pulled out their earbuds to see what the exclamation was about. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest bruise I've ever seen. Soon, nearly every student in the room was crowded around the desk, gaping at the dark spot on my leg. There was no way around it. I had to tell them what happened, as embarrassing as it was. And when I let go of my fear of judgment, I was able to open up and laugh about it, and make others laugh too. I learned something important that day. There are always going to be parts of ourselves that we try to hide away for fear of embarrassment, or maybe because we're worried that by opening up, we are going to lose the respect of the people around us. Maybe we won't seem as cool or as tough if people really knew what happened. But as we opened up, I found that it's really the opposite that occurs. When we share who we are, we actually become more proud of who we are, more comfortable in our own skin, more real. By showing vulnerability, acknowledging imperfections, and sharing our stories, we become seen as more than the smart, red-headed girl who does theater, or the cookie-cutter jock or nerd, and instead we become seen as a person. As we let ourselves be known, those around us will likewise reveal themselves, and thus our connection grows. Meaningful relationships are built through a mutual exchange of stories about our lives. And these interactions build trust, because when we open up and share a piece of ourselves, we understand one another better, and empathy grows. One classic example of this, High School Musical. During the song Stick to the Status Quo, the students of East High School begin sharing their secret passions at lunch. Through song and dance, we learn that Zeke, a jock, likes to bake, and Martha, a brainiac, loves hip-hop. While the song imparts the meaningful message that we should all follow our dreams and passions instead of trying to fit into one box, the musical number also shows us that sometimes all it takes is one person to open up and share something about themselves before someone else will do the same. By the end of the movie, we see the East High School community is much more accepting, and the students are more appreciative of one another because they see one another as who they really are. As Sarah Arthur Markley once said, when we tell our stories in a safe community, all those things that separate us go away. When we open up, we can create a positive, caring, respectful climate. Our stories bring us together. So, as we enter the next chapter of our lives, I encourage you to let yourself be known. The most meaningful relationships are going to be built when we fight to be more than our preconceived labels and share ourselves and our stories honest and raw. Imagine if we all let one another see inside. No masquerade, no hidden features, walls torn down, no untold stories. Imagine the respect we would have for one another, the empathy. So, wherever it is you are going next, don't be afraid to open up and be true to yourself. Remember that what makes you vulnerable makes you beautiful. You are too special to stay hidden.
Hello, classmates, faculty, friends, and families. My name is Ethan Walsh, and I'm the business manager for the class of 2020. Miss Lyons, the class of 2020, would like to present our class gift to you. I'm excited to announce that we will be partnering with the class of 2021 to build a new staircase spanning from the center of the upper parking lot down towards the old foyer entrance of the building. In 2017, the senior class tried to take on this project, but it was too expensive for one single class to undertake. So, our class tried to do it alone as well, but we're all stronger together. The class of 2021 will decide which company to partner with when building the staircase, and they will also be in charge of the construction. Our class is donating over $9,300 towards the project. I would also like to recognize Keegan Mesmer, the treasurer for our class council, for his dedication to the class of 2020. This project would not have been possible without him. Keegan, would you please stand up? The goal of this new staircase is to make an easier route to the high school from the upper parking lot. Many kids slip down the hill, especially in the winter, and this will hopefully solve that issue. This staircase will be a token of remembrance from our class and the class of 2021, and we are so grateful that they are teaming up with us to create an amazing addition to our high school. Thank you.
I can take this off. Thank you, class of 2020. Thank you for your generosity and for all you have given the Portsmouth High School community throughout your 4 years here. You've been a terrific class, and we appreciate your kindness. I recently read a story about a person who worked for our former First Lady, Barbara Bush. He had the opportunity to travel with her to China and visit the Great Wall. He tells the story of the First Lady putting a firm hand on his shoulder as they approached the lower rise section of the wall to stop him from following the crowd. She said to him, "That's the way everyone typically sees the Great Wall, but the real way to see it is to the left." They ended up on a sharply rising, strenuous section where they had to actually pull themselves up. But when they reached the top, they were rewarded with a feeling of accomplishment and a simply magnificent view. This story resonated with me as I was thinking about what to say to you today. There's an important message here. You can do all right if you follow the crowd, but if you go the hard way, the results can be spectacular. Class of 2020, you've already demonstrated you're not afraid to take the hard way. You have faced the challenges to your senior year with passion, patience, optimism, and resolve. You've stayed connected and supported one another. You've even found a way to finish out this challenging year by coming together for this ceremony. You've already begun to experience that things aren't handed to you as you get older, but it is the things that you work the hardest for that will mean the most to you. And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just an opportunity to move yourself in another direction. The strongest people experience the worst, but come out on top anyway. This has been a time of loss for all of you, but it's also a time to dream big. This is your year. The world is filled with possibilities, and dreams are a great test of your resolve. So dream big and don't let the fear of failure stop you. It's all about perspective. Remember to go the hard way. The results can be spectacular. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our Bartlett Prize speaker. The Bartlett speaking competition begins with Portsmouth High School seniors being offered the opportunity to write and submit an essay. A committee of the faculty and administration evaluates the essays. From the total submitted, a selected number are presented orally to a selection committee. And from this pool of speakers, 5 are selected to speak at the baccalaureate ceremony. After baccalaureate, the Bartlett Prize Committee selects the Bartlett Prize runner-up and the Bartlett Prize speaker. For the class of 2020, the Bartlett Prize runner-up and winner of a $300 cash prize was Heather Hunkins. And the Bartlett Prize speaker and winner of a $600 cash prize who will speak with us for today is Holly Galvin.
My whole life, I dreamed of becoming a Disney princess. When I was little, I used to put on a princess dress and my mother's makeup and parade around my room. In my preschool yearbook, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said, a princess, of course. Now, this was cute and all until I got to middle school, and my answer didn't change. Suddenly, this became an unrealistic career path. But I never gave up. Now, as a senior in high school, I finally got what I wished for. For the past few months, I was locked in my very own dragon-guarded tower. Like Elsa, Anna, and many others, I waited for something to happen. I grew out my hair like Rapunzel, and I learned baking skills like Tiana. I looked into many magic mirrors known as Zoom calls. Wait, you know what? Now that I think of it, maybe I wasn't a Disney princess. I was one of those people living on Wally's spaceship. You know, the ones that sit in their chairs doing nothing all day? Yeah, that's definitely more accurate. Now, between Zoom calls and Google Classroom assignments, I spent the rest of my time watching the holy grail of streaming networks, Disney+. I've been told my whole life that cartoons rot your brain, but in fact, the exact opposite happened. I learned many life lessons, including, if you meet a strange man in the forest, accept his marriage proposal. If you see a cookie that says, "Eat me," just do it. It's probably safe. And finally, if you keep someone locked in your castle long enough, they will fall in love with you, even if you're an ugly beast. All right, all jokes aside, Disney movies are more realistic than you might think. Each character is faced with a journey, a challenge to overcome. When we entered Portsmouth High School, we were just scared freshmen who had to navigate a whole new world. We had to try new things and make new friends. Moana left on a boat to save her island. She strayed from her parental expectations to sail the sea and return the heart of Te Fiti. Tiana worked towards her dream of opening a restaurant, even as everybody around her doubted her. Many people here have had to work through adversity to get where they are today. Maybe you changed friend groups, hairstyles. Maybe people doubted your strength. I remember being a scared freshman walking in on orientation thinking, oh my goodness, there is no one I know in my step-up day group. I have to talk to strangers. And now I'm here giving a speech in front of hundreds of strangers. And that's character development. And character development is what leads Disney characters to my favorite part of the film, the happy ending. The hero and heroine fall in love, the family and friends are back together, and the kingdom is safe. But before the characters can experience triumph, they experience loneliness, disappointment, and failure. 3 things that unfortunately every single person here has felt. Maybe the hyenas in school laughed at you and made you feel small. Maybe like Mike and Sully, you got in a fight with your best friend and to this day you regret the things you said. Maybe the Black Plague swept the kingdom and canceled your senior year. But a wise man once said, "The flower that blooms in adversity is the rarest and most beautiful of them all." And yes, I am quoting the fictitious emperor from Mulan. When we were juniors, suddenly every adult in our life began asking, hey, what are you going to do after high school? Unfortunately, I couldn't just say I wanted to be a princess and be done with it. Do not worry, though. I still have hope. If Kate Middleton can do it, so can I. And when the time came, we did what was needed to be done. We worked hard on SATs and extra hard classes. We put clubs, jobs, and sports at the top of our priorities. Walt Disney once said, all our dreams will come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Disney taught me that success is not an easy road. It requires taking failure and using it to motivate and inspire yourself to keep moving forward, no matter how hard the battle is. If any of the Disney characters gave up at their lowest points, the villains would win. And what kind of story is that? We might not have gotten the High School Musical 3 ending that we wanted, but that should not put down how much we have grown and changed as a class since that first day of freshman year. I think I've talked enough about Disney movies. Believe me, I can go all day if you would like. But now it's time to write our own story. Once upon a time, the Portsmouth High School graduating class of 2020 was getting ready to go off into the world. For 3 years, they were challenged with tryouts, finals, and most terrible of all, SAT prep. But before they could leave on the greatest journey of their lives, they had to say goodbye. The hardest thing they'd ever done. They were happy that they would have one more year together as a class. They dreamed of dancing at the royal ball and being knighted at coronation. But an evil witch watched the class from her mountain. She was jealous. One night, she sent her army of bats to curse the kingdom. A plague swept the land. The king decided that in order to keep his people safe, they had to be locked in dragon-guarded towers. The kingdom fell into despair. But the class of 2020 was resilient. They survived Zoom meetings and Google Classroom assignments. After a long battle, the class won. They came out of their towers as stronger people. They went off to become artists, scientists, brave knights, and even princesses. The class of 2020 lived happily ever after. At least for now. The best movies always have a sequel. Thank you. Thank you.
Do I have to do this? Perfect. Thank you. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, an expert in the field of grief, once said, "It's only when we truly know and understand that we have a limited time on earth, and that we have no way of knowing when our time is up, that we will begin to live each day to the fullest, as if it was the only one we had." We now all understand the meaning of losing something before we thought it should be over. Until the coronavirus pandemic, we thought we would see our senior springs unfold the way we had envisioned for 4 years. Kubler-Ross's words exemplify the meaning of presence. With an understanding that our lives and experiences are fleeting, we begin to live in each moment. Presence leads us to happiness and success, while also teaching us how to handle adversity. If we spent every day in school, present, engaged in our thoughts and feelings of the current moment, would we miss school so badly? Would we have so many what-if statements about our last encounters with classmates and teachers? On Friday, March 13th, I arrived at school later than I ever had, due to a field trip with my AP biology class. Because of it, I missed out on my daily meeting in the athletic office, and I decided not to return my basketball bag to the coach's office, with the thought that I would just do it on Monday. When my class returned from our field trip at 3 p.m., I didn't wait those 20 minutes before leaving school. No one could have told me I would never return as a student to Portsmouth High School, or else I would have worked to be present to those final 20 minutes and walk through the halls one final time. But on March 13th, no one knew. So, class of 2020, if you had known 6 months ago that a pandemic would cut our senior year far too short, would you have lived your life differently? I ask you this because I know my answer is yes. High school is not everyone's place, but I loved it. I wanted to do everything, even when there weren't enough hours in the day to do it all. I set standards for myself and feared failing to meet them. I constantly move at the speed of light, and rarely do I slow down my life enough to live in the moment. I thrive being busy and fear living without the structure of one activity after the next. When the coronavirus enveloped the world and ended our senior year, these fears became a reality. Because for once, my life slowed down to the point where the future was uncertain and I could only rely on the present moment. Even before the pandemic, our generation faced challenges to our ability to be present. We have grown up with social media, where we can peer into each other's lives in a comparative way. Sometimes we feel we lose in the comparison game, and we are left with a feeling of wanting. Now, think about the last few months. We have never wanted more. We want our lives to return to normal, and we measure our happiness against this old standard. But we can't be happy in the past or the future. If we appreciate the present moment for what it has and does not compare it to what it does not have, we will find contentment. Another aspect of presence is that it allows us to handle adversity. The past 3 months have been a test of hardship for all of us, and we are now grieving. Grieving lost time, lost relationships, lost loved ones, and lost experiences. If we allow ourselves to feel these feelings in the moment and understand their finite nature, we may realize that grief will not last forever. Contemporary author Joey Green said, "The way to live in the present is to remember that this too shall pass. When you experience joy, remembering that this too shall pass helps you savor the here and now. When you experience pain and sorrow, remembering that this too shall pass reminds you that grief, like joy, is only temporary." When we are present and seize each opportunity, we can fail. With failure comes success. How can that be? It is only when we are aware in a moment that we can recognize a situation and push ourselves outside of our comfort zones. When we take risks, we can fail, and it is from those failures that we learn to think in different ways and succeed. If we do not recognize a challenge as an opportunity, we will never know what we could have learned. If you know me, you know my magnificent obsession with Harry Potter, so it comes at no surprise that I include a quote from J.K. Rowling. She said, "Some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you lived so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default." Being present is a lifelong endeavor, but if mastered, it is the joy of living. Presence requires us to accept the situation we find ourselves in, which will not always be easy. When we accept this one moment as it happens, we become more accepting of ourselves and others. We find happiness, cultivate empathy, overcome adversity, and achieve our dreams. If you find yourself wishing you lived your life differently 6 months ago, as I did, I hope you can learn from the past so that you have a deeper appreciation for the present. If I have bored you to the point of daydream, but not sleep, then I have succeeded, because I have one last thing to share with you. Leo Tolstoy wrote a short story called The Three Questions, in which the character asked, when is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? The answers are simple. There is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you are with. And the most important thing to do is to do good for those who are standing at your sides. Class of 2020, may we welcome the next chapter of our lives by living in this very moment next to the ones we are with, doing good for those who are standing at our sides. Thank you.
We would now like to take a minute to recognize those students who were scholarship recipients, as well as the generosity of so many local individuals and companies. The amount of local scholarship aid that has been offered to the class of 2020 is amazing, and it reflects the commitment the entire Portsmouth community has for higher education. The amount of scholarship announced at this year's Scholarship Awards Night for the class of 2020 totaled over $380,000. Scholarship recipients, please now rise all together to be recognized for your achievement. All stand. scholarship recipients, please be seated.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, class of 2020. I feel equally lucky and unqualified to be talking with you on a day as special as today. As we speak, twin spacecrafts Voyager 1 and 2 are approximately 13 billion miles away from Earth. Alongside their various mechanisms I don't understand, the spacecrafts are carrying gold-dipped copper phonographs. The records contain sounds and images carefully selected to explain the diversity of life on Earth to extraterrestrials. The golden record holds 115 images set to voices speaking 55 different languages. The images are all beautifully familiar, and the sounds remind us of the limitless potential of mankind. As you scroll through the pictures that supposedly explain life as we know it, you notice that there isn't a single image depicting the failings and suffering of humans. This was a completely intentional decision made by Dr. Carl Sagan and his NASA committee. The reason was to essentially have Earth put her best foot forward, but we know that an image of Earth without hatred or fear is not an accurate one. It has always been true that with ingenious discovery comes hardship. I know very little about astrophysics, but I do know that while attempting to explain what humankind is, Dr. Sagan missed out on some of the most human things we do. Suffering is common ground. Every Earth dweller has experienced that to be true. I was recently stalking my mother's Facebook page to make sure no embarrassing photos of me had recently been posted, and I came across Nebraska Senator Sass's commencement speech. If you were fortunate enough to miss it, you may not have heard him tell the class of 2020 that they should be worried about bigger things than missing their graduation ceremonies. In regards to suffering, Dr. Sagan and Senator Sass seem to be presenting two options: the approach of ignoring human suffering completely, or the approach of discrediting our own suffering because someone will always have it worse. Both options seem to be equally bad. To be fair, Carl Sagan is a Pulitzer Prize-winning professor at Cornell, and Ben Sass is a bi-published U.S. Senator, but they both missed the mark on this one. Our senior year was cut short. We missed out on our senior prom, cigars after graduation, and the last day of school. Dr. Sagan's approach of ignoring it doesn't seem realistic, and Senator Sass's approach of comparing it to obviously greater suffering is equally unhelpful. The class of 2020 has suffered as a result of a global pandemic. By admitting this, it's not to say that the class of 2020 has it the worst. It's probably healthy to learn early that someone will always have it worse than us. But constantly comparing suffering is polarizing. We're all so human, and we experience so much of the same things. By saying that our class has suffered is to simply acknowledge the fact that adversity is part of the human condition, and it always will be. It sounds daunting, but really it just makes us all that much more similar. When someone experiences a loss, it's common for another person to console them with the story of their own loss. It's comforting to know that you're not alone in your discomfort. The phrase "misery loves company" couldn't be more true. Although I'm disappointed that I won't get to hug my best friends after this ceremony, I feel eternally grateful that I'm able to be with them here today at all. Instead of weaponizing suffering and allowing comparison to make others feel as though theirs isn't valid, we should use our misfortune to unite us. When things don't go to plan, it's often that you weren't the only one with that plan. Moving forward, I suggest a reclamation of the term pity party. As it currently stands, this phrase is negatively used to describe someone who relishes in their own discomfort. I think this is a colossal misuse of perfectly good language. Upon reflection, this term precisely describes a solution to our incessant comparison problem. Let's use a completely unrelated example. Say you were about to finish your academic career and a global pandemic hit the planet and your final year of schooling was cut short. You and everyone you know has been negatively impacted. What would you do? You should throw a pity party.
Not the old kind where you wallow in how you have it the worst, but the new kind where you turn to those who are also suffering and see that things are not so bad when done together. If we can agree to show compassion and understanding to all forms of suffering, then we would definitely be better off. If Dr. Sagan was still with us, I would plan to invite him, Senator Sass, and the global class of 2020 to my own pity party, and I would hope you all could make it.
Hi, everyone. Are you guys still with me? Excellent, excellent. The class of 2020 had some brave individuals that decided to serve their country by enlisting in the military, and we would like to honor them by asking them to stand at this time. Thank you very much. Good evening, class of 2020. Let me start by saying it has been an honor to be your school counselor for the past 4 years. It seems like just yesterday that you all entered the building during freshman orientation. You all had tentative smiles on your faces, but you radiated nervous energy. And today you stand here as confident, accomplished young adults eager to face all the world has to offer. I am proud of each and every one of you. Now let's face it, getting to this day, your graduation day, has not been easy for all of you. There have been mountains to climb, bumps in the road, major tragedies to overcome. Mr. Donovan and I could have given this award to probably a dozen of you. This year, we were asked to keep it to just 2. Usually, we give only 1 award. This award came to be years ago after the PHS counselors, staff, and administrators sat in awe of the resilience, fortitude, and courage it took for some of our students to make it to this day, their high school graduation day. This award is, to me, the most special. It has been known as the Profile in Courage Award, and was developed to honor students who have had to overcome great challenges to be here today. To frame this award, I would like to define some of the driving characteristics of the recipients. They share courage and resilience. Courage is defined as the mental and moral strength to persevere and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. It is to look danger in the eye and still move forward. The movement may be in millimeters, but there is still movement, continual movement, and that never say die attitude. Resilience is defined as the ability to recover from and adjust easily to misfortune or change. Wow, what an amazing trait to have. The first recipient has struggled with multiple bouts of depression that they have overcome over the last 4 years. Each time this occurred, the student demonstrated the courage by asking for help and by utilizing the support offered to overcome each obstacle. They never let depression be something to be ashamed of, but an illness to overcome. Early on in the life of the student endured abandonment of a parent, caregivers who struggled with addiction, and who put their needs before the needs of this child. Luckily, this student did have family members and other adults who believed in them and nurtured them. This student suffers from learning challenges as well. Learning is not always easy for the student, but again, they demonstrated courage to face these challenges head on and was always willing to put in the extra work to master any and all educational material presented to them. Another trait that is core to this person is altruism. Since I love to define words, I'm going to define this for you too. Altruism is to put the needs of others before your own needs and to to consistently demonstrate an unselfish concern for the welfare of others. It is remarkable that for most students, they were the ones that needed support and nurturing and production and unconditional love. Yet this student showed this to others. A great example of this was when this student's younger sibling wanted to go to camp. This student agreed to go with him so he would have a familiar face on his journey and feel comfortable at camp. Similarly, this student participated as a partner in various unified sports teams throughout their career. In study centers, when the student was done with their work, they asked, "Who can I help?" And they went to help other students. The student often sought me out to ask when she could volunteer to be a peer tutor in Mr. Rogers' classroom. This student will be the first in their family to attend college, and their goal is to become a special education teacher and to shape the lives of students like themselves. Please help me in presenting this Profiling Courage Award to Miss Selena Weber. And like I said, we usually only give one award, but this is a special year, as you all know. So every year it's difficult trying to present this award, and condensing one student's life into a short speech when writing an entire book is far simpler a task. This book would be entitled, "Being a Man Means Little. Being a man of your word means a lot. Being a man of your actions means everything." Chapter 1. In 2016, Sporting News named the 50 greatest coaches of all time. At number 1 was John Wooden, the UCLA men's basketball coach from 1962 through 1975. How does one become the greatest coach in sports history? The answer is character. Wooden was known for instilling strength and character in his players both on and off the court. He was quoted as saying, "Be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think of you." This year's recipient of the Profiling Courage Award would have made the greatest coach in sports history a very proud man. Chapter 2. He has a story like many others, a story like many of you. At times as a young child, his character was tested by family hardships, societal hurdles, environmental challenges, but his parents instilled in him the ethics and morals that have come to define his character. And so he never succumbed to the vices that others were not able to resist. And like many of you, when it came time for school, he was not partial to the constraints of the school environment required. He just wanted the freedom to do what he does best, to be himself. In elementary school, he struggled to succeed in a system that is designed to help struggling students by adding more structure, when what he wanted was less structure, but that was what he needed. Chapter 3. He did understand the importance of education, and by middle school, he had turned the academic corner. But socially, being yourself in middle school is a little like herding cats. And he found that having strong convictions was not easy, especially when no one around you really knows what their convictions should be. When they entered high school, he was mistrustful of the system, and he was unsure of himself and lacking confidence. He was testing the waters everywhere, looking to see where the limits and the edges were, and looking to find the boundaries. What he found was boundless. He found acceptance and friendship. He found unconditional support. He found guidance and space to grow. In short, he found himself. He became a friend to all, a champion of the underdog, and a young man of deep character and integrity. He became a welcome part of Clipper Nation and a big part of the Portsmouth High School family. He is proof positive that life can be amazing at times. Chapter 4. When staff and students alike were asked to describe this young man, this is what they had to say. He is respectful, kind, hardworking, genuine, friendly, sincere, humble, thoughtful, reliable. He has a strong belief in fairness and equity. He is always polite and always says thank you for the little things. He hated getting into trouble, and he never blamed anyone else but himself, and he always apologized and was quick to take responsibility for his actions. Chapter 5. I noted earlier that life can be amazing at times, but it can also be soul-crushing. It's a package deal. No one gets out unscathed. Just as this amazing young man was hitting his stride, the bedrock support in his life was shattered. The foundation of it all that held up everything was gone. What does a boy do when he loses his father? He goes to school, right? No, that can't be right. He doesn't go to school the next day. He isn't concerned with being there for his culinary team before they go off to culinary competition, is he? He doesn't seek out help from Miss Maloney, who adores him, and having a kind and caring soul, because he is worried about school and he knows he'll need help, right? He doesn't put his faith in Miss Deemer to keep him from letting his grade slip so that he'll let down the football team in the fall, does he? It would take a man of great resolve and great moral fiber to do that. It would take a man of great integrity and great character. Chapter 6. As you have guessed, our graduate is a young man of great character and steadfast resolve. He can be counted on to do the right thing, whether someone is watching or not. And he has the rare gift of being able to maintain an unconditional, positive regard for everyone he meets. Where once he found school frustrating, he now became a consummate student. Where once he was unsure about following a recipe, he now became a leader on the competitive culinary arts team. Where once he lacked confidence on the football field, his dedication, perseverance became an inspiration to the fellow players and coaches alike. Final chapter. It is important to remember that our story started by noting that the greatest coach in history would be proud of a young man like the hero in this story. It is more important to know that we too are proud of him. He is a young man of great courage and compassion, of great character and great integrity. He is a natural-born leader with vast potential and will find no better friendship than the one that he offers. Mostly, though, each and every one of us here today wants you to know that your father would be proud of you, Tyrese Sterling.
Okay, it's time. Micaiah Jade Adair. Alyssa Jane Almeida. Ali Al-Robai. Brooks Arvidson. Olivia C. Ayat. Declan Maxwell Richardson Baker. Levi Bast. Brady Baum. Ryan John Beaupre. Emma M. Beavers. Sage Barrison. Anna Rose Bergeron. Savia Joyce Berlucci. Addison Moriarty Billadu. Ainsley Ray Blanchette. David Walter Blodgett III. Jackson Bradley Bloom. Gabrielle Lois Bowling. Cassidy May Bonham. Catherine Beck Barassa. Jacob Booten. Neola Brokenbrow. Isaac Parker Brown. Jaylene Calderon. Carmen Moon Callahan. Olivia Callahan. Garrett Patrick Carolyn. Elijah Jacob Benjamin Carr. Anne Catherine Castle. Carmen Rena Chini Raitano. Julia Cheney. Ethan J. Cherry. John Shimataro. Joseph Clarizio. Ashley Elizabeth Clark. Scarlett Elizabeth Clark. Madison Koyman. Boyd R. Crapo. Olivia Reed Cray. Jillian Lee Croto. Addison D. Crowell. Haley Rose Courier. Hope Elizabeth Courier. Rachel Mary Dame. Thomas Michael Degnan III. Cody Demers. Kyle Frederick Deemer. Noah Samuel Dieppe. Fiona Peacock Dolan. Ian Dos Reis. Ella Caroline Doyle. Jessica Drew. Chloe Michelle Drusendahl. Jacob Michael Duddy. Joshua Robert Durkee. Timothy Robert Durkin. Austin Edwards. Matthew Falsey. Tori Ann Fish. Sophia Nicole Foley. Luke Edward Freeman. Nicholas Fuller. Jordan Caleb Gamester. Rithvik Ganache. Sydney Alexandra Garrett. William Godrow. Malachi Michael Guana. Jacob Henry Geisler. Christopher Jerry. River Goweer. Justin Gigas. Casey Chan Gladue. Darian Anthony Gordon. Ellie Esther Graham. Camden Gray. Charlotte E. Griffin. Colby Michael Griffin. Thor Griffith. David Anthony Grillo. Ryan Thomas Grollo. Kevin J. Gum. Ellie Christina Guzikowski. Vincent Anthony Blaze Hadrich. Mark Robert Hagan. Karis Hakala. Genevieve Candence Hanley. Elizabeth Michelle Hart. Catherine E. Hartley. Seamus E. Hatch. Benjamin Richard Hathaway. Calvin Spencer Hewitt. Ryan R. Higgins. Maxwell T. Hitchcock. Mark Holenbach, Jr. Calista Jordan Hopley. Margaret Horgan. Sarah M. Hoskin. Riley Haneke. Heather Lynn Hutchins. Rita Idrisi. Emilio Jamie. Michelle Wuyadi Jonas. Stanley Robert Juris IV. Ryan Kane. Ava Carleen. Gage Alexander Carleen. Emma G. Katona. Andrew Kelly. Isabella Grace Kelly. Thomas Spencer Katurikis. Sophia Kilroy. Carly Muriel King. Jenna Ashley Kirk. Livia Nightingale Kozak. Alex J. Krataminos. Jack Kraus. Tatiana Kuchti. Julia Kurowski. Mia Labrie. Oscar Lalime. Ben Brooks Landau. Brody A. Landry. Dexter Murray Lanigan. Christopher LaValle Jr. Cole Leightonen. Bridget Eileen Cecilia Lenahan. Leonardo Levi Montalcini. Daniel M. Levin. Jonah T. Levin. Mario N. Libby. Derek Alexander Leibel. Jamie Elizabeth Lynchy. Tucker Lloyd. Sarida Lopez. Christian T. LaRusso. Andriana L. Lucier. Ella Lucas. Alex Luna. Phoebe Luno. Brooke Leiden. Emily Sang Lynch. Max Hogan McCannell. Andrew Moore Madden. Maria R. Maines. Francesco R. Maldari. Cassidy Malilla. Francesca Gabriella Marchesano. Erin Kitty Marsden. Abigail Walden Martin. Gabriela I. Martinez. Griffin Everett Matthews. Claire Margaret McCafferty. Katie McCafferty. Grace Marie McCann. Caroline Ray McCarthy. Christopher McCarthy. Declan McCarthy. Julia Alexis McDaniels. Timothy Patrick McGranahan. Elizabeth E. McLaughlin. Jada Anyang McNabb. Casey May McPhee. India Tasha Miles. Brandon Mitchell. Jackson Momwhite. Jose Ariel Vincente Monfil. Christopher Gibbs Mood. Damian Moody. Jackson R. Moore. Morgan Riley Moran. John Francis Moriarty. Hold it. Sarah Grace Morin. Kaylee Hala Morley. Joshua Morrison. Patrick D. Montjoy. Lillian M. Murray. Fox Nachampasak. Sarah Nadeau. Elizabeth Grace Nee. Trevor Thomas Nelson. Zeta Navarez. Melena Nagera. Alec J. Norland. Elizabeth A. Omahan. Joey R. Patchouli. Nolan Shoup Pafford. Aiden Joseph Palermo. Zachary Ryan Paradis. Mari Bass Patch. Umang Patel. Maya Pettit. Josephine Marion Philbrook. Anna Pirro. Joseph Rogers Platt. Gemma Sophia Pohl. William David Ponser. Oops. Kylie Prince. Jack Anthony Pufall. Owen Ray Rand. Sean F. Riley. Griffin Richard Rizzo. Belle Rizzo. Connor Mark-Pierre Robbins. Casey Roberts. Haley Grace Robinson. Madeline Kaikin Rolofs. Finn Rooney. Daniel Rosebush. Peyton Tay Ross. Ashley Lynn Rossi. Haley Rudolph. Jack Russo. William Sargent. Brian Savage. Emma Catherine N. Savage. Kiera Sheppy. Braden Douglas Shafroth Bach. Jeremy Schlemmer. Jessica Lee Schleeper. Virginia Joan Schaff. Ezra Ferris Schrader. Maya Zoyle. Monique P. Shaw. Luke E. Shambo. Mark Jeffrey Shaw. Caitlin Lois Schultz. Jennifer Sidwa. Justin David Sinclair. Anna Margaret Smith. Eric Hamed Solano Areola. Alyssa Lorenza South. Tyrese Keanu Sterling. Alexa Ann Stevens. Claire Summerfield Stoner. Jack Suheski. Samantha Marie Tarr. Savannah Mariah Tessier. Michael Scott Thuet. Gabrielle E. Tikoalu. Emma Tizard. Lillian Tompkinson. Riley Thomas Town. Aiden J. Velez. Jean Vera. Daniela Vigaris. Jack Waldo. Joshua Nicholas Walker. Jesse Tucker Ward. Victoria Taylor Watson. Aaron Matthew Watt. Selena Tatiana Weber. Charlotte Welsh. Deborah Ann Wyman. Samantha A. Yeager. Lauren Amber Zaleski. Trinity Grace Zola. Caroline Canine. Liam H. Ellis. Logan John Floyd Whitaker. Addison Gray Scully. Sophia Amarissa Pappas. Verabel Sky Picassi. Lauren Lance. Anne Catherine Canine. Ethan Patrick Walsh. Keegan D. Mesmer. Holly Portia Galvin. Catherine Ann Weathersby. Iris May Katrupi. Rachel Elizabeth Goldberg. Corinne Elizabeth Lemon. Are you okay with that? Or should you want me to move
As we end today's celebration, I just want to thank you all for coming out to celebrate the class of 2020. I also want to take a moment and thank the Graduation Planning Committee for putting this together. Planning a normal graduation is hard. Planning this graduation, I think, took about 256 tries, so I think we finally got it, so I really want to thank them for their work. As we end today's celebration, we have instructions for exiting the stadium that we ask you to please follow to get everyone out of the stadium in an orderly and safe manner. We ask that parents please stay where you are until your student section is called, and please remain appropriately distanced. Parents, when your student's row is called, please stand and exit the stadium. All parents will exit the stadium behind section C using the path behind the homestand bleachers. The exit at the stairs will be for graduates only, and we ask that you do not congregate at the stairs and any of the exits or the parking lots. After you locate your graduate on the walkway outside the stadium, please go directly to your vehicle. As soon as the last section is cleared to their cars, I will give the official declaration live stream on the PPM TV YouTube channel to begin the car parade. The car parade will exit on Summit Avenue. If you're not participating in the car parade, please exit on Andrew Jarvis Drive. So we will begin with dismissing Section A. So again, when your graduate's row is called, please exit to your left, make your way in the path behind the bleachers, and please use the walkway ramp to the parking lot and collect your graduate directly. Thank you again.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh my God, I'm boiling.
Nice job.
No.
He's not going to stop. Right. I tried to be as anticlimactic as I could, Mary.
Just go back to your seats.
There was no way.
As long as they go back to their seats, I don't care.
And graduates, if you could please stay in your seats.
You'll have to pick up your hat on your way out. Okay, wow. It was hard for me to slow. And then all of a sudden I looked up and I'm like, wait, because I was just going to say them all, and I'm like, this is not working because I don't want to be
It went
sitting.
faster than I thought, though. I mean, it
Yeah.
had a decent cadence.
It took me a little while to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
7. Well, I figured 7.
Out and where everything was going to
Yeah,
be to
yeah.
what was going on down
We did figure 7, even though the Herald said 6:30.
Yep.
We figured 7.
Yep.
These guys are supposed to be walking their rows out. Is there an adult? See, that was it. We assigned teachers to walk their rows out to the parking lot to meet their families.
Yeah, they seem like they're leaving.
Yeah, the kids are. What? Mike is what? Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Great ceremony. weird reading this declaration with nobody left. Is that what it is? Yeah. Well, they can tune in the car.
It's working. Can you see the parents? It definitely won't fix the car when it off like that.
Right.
But we have little patches.
Yeah. Well, it seems like at least they're moving. They're not congregating. So obviously this isn't working by Section B weighting, because I assume the number of graduates that have left were.
No, because they did, well, they're just setting, they're doing them by rows, so I would
Okay.
say.
I'm just wondering
Yeah,
if I
they're
even need to read
see,
anything
they're
else.
dismissing those guys over there.
Okay.
I don't know what's holding them up, though. Why aren't they walking around? Yeah, go, go. Who's the staff member right there? They should be telling them to go.
I think so. Wet programs and
That's Section B? Somebody say parents in Section B can now be dismissed.
Yeah, Section B can walk over.
Okay, parents in Section B can now be dismissed.
Maybe they were waiting for you. I didn't know that.
she'll get it.
Who was that traffic?
I know.
Congratulations, Rita.
Nice job. So I assume that's them in the back corner?
Did we think they would? No mask, no social distance.
Steve, that didn't work. They're all gone. They kind of lost at the end.
Yeah, I think they're all heading
That
out.
didn't work. What? Keep staff development. Yes, I did.
Thank you.
The top row.
Okay, parents in Section C can now be dismissed.
Good job,
Everybody go.
Thank you.
The graduates just left on probation.
You know what I'm doing? Cannot wait.
Did Mary, did the Mesmers get a golf cart in here?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Is that why they're back there?
They did not get the golf cart for them. It's right there.
Hi.
Hi. We dismissed them too fast.
Well,
There.
they didn't wait for us.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to hold the line down there. They were not waiting.
Yeah.
So we
That
did
was,
the best we could.
you guys, we did, it was a beautiful job. We just dismissed them too fast.
I guess that's the way we'd broadcast, yeah. I'm still live? All right. All right. Superintendent Salvador Petralia, school board members from SAU 52 and 50. As the superintendent of schools, I hereby certify that these students have met all the requirements for graduation, and I present to you and the community the class of 2020. Congratulations.